Welcome to tape number 2, Word Processors. On this tape, you'll soon learn WordPerfect and Microsoft Word. Sit back and watch the Computer Tutor tapes at your own pace. To find or review a certain topic, just check the index card and quickly go to just the right place on the tape. Use the on-screen locator window to fast forward or rewind to just the right place. Now here's the Computer Tutor herself, Kim Komando.
Welcome to Tape 2, Word Processing. Probably the most common use of the personal computer is to type a letter, report, or maybe even that best-selling novel. But not too long ago, to do the same job, you needed a typewriter, you needed a dictionary, a thesaurus, so those grammar books to look up rules, whiteout because we all made mistakes, and scissors to cut out one part of a letter, and then you had to glue it onto another piece to move a paragraph. But probably the worst part of typing was when you were finally finished. You found a misspelled word or two, and then you had two choices. You could forget about it, but odds are you just started from scratch and redid the whole thing. Now, during this lesson, Tape 2, you're going to learn the easy and quick way to write and type anything with your computer. It's called word processing, and it takes all these tools and puts them inside a personal computer so I can use them. You're going to learn the most popular software programs, WordPerfect and Microsoft Word. Now you're going to learn WordPerfect 5.1 for DOS, one of the most popular software programs. And what it does is word processing. 5.1 is the number that tells you what version or model number the software is. To start or to use a software program with our computer, first we have to go to the DOS prompt. And here we have to type in CD to go to the directory where WordPerfect is, that's named WP51. Press enter and the directory changes, as you can see with your prompt. Type WP and this starts WordPerfect. Now the blue screen is like one big blank piece of paper that you can put inside your typewriter. In the upper left-hand corner, you see a cursor that's a blinking underline. This marks where whatever you type appears on the page. Now, you can't move the cursor unless you have typed something there, though. Now, we're going to learn how to type a letter, but it works the same WordPerfect, whether you're typing a school report, a resume, or even that best-selling novel that's in your head. Now, this is the keyboard. It looks and works a lot like a typewriter, but there's a few more keys. I want you to pay close attention to the function keys on the top of the keyboard. These are numbered with the letter F and the numbers 1 through 12. Inside your WordPerfect box, there's a template. And what this is you place this right on your keyboard, and it makes it easy to remember all the WordPerfect commands this way. You just match the function key numbers that are on the template with the ones that are on your keyboard. Let's take, for example, F2, or function key 2. As you can see, there are a couple of things the F2 key does. One type of search, a second type of search, it does replace, and it also allows you to spell check your documents. Well, if you take a look on the right, you see Control, and that's this key on your keyboard. Move over, and you can see that everything in red, you would press the Control key, and to spell check, it's the Control key and the F2 key. Alt key, located here on your keyboard, is replaced when I press the F2 key. The Shift key in green, over here is green, so it's a search. With F2 allows me to do a search. The F2 alone is a different type of search. So I always keep my template right here, so this way I can remember all my WordPerfect commands without even looking in the manual. On the lower right-hand side of the screen, you see DOC. Now, anything you use in WordPerfect, anything you type or make with the program is called a document. The number 1 tells me I'm using my first document in WordPerfect because I can work on a couple of documents at once. The PG tells me what page number I am in my document. The line number has 1 inch. Well, WordPerfect gives me 1-inch margins around the page automatically, but you can change them. But it's almost like, why bother? Because it always works out great to have 1-inch margins all around the page. Now the POS, sometimes that's blinking. And when it's blinking, it means that the num lock light or the number lock light is on. So this part of your keyboard is almost like an adding machine. When the num lock is off, and you can turn the number lock off by pressing the button, these become arrow keys, and I can move around my document just by moving these keys with the arrows in the direction that I want to go. Now we're going to be typing a letter, but almost every letter looks like this in the beginning. I mean, you start out, you handwrite it, you may have to cross some things out. But we're going to take this letter and we're going to put it inside the computer, and I'm going to make it look 100% better. And we're also going to jazz it up a little bit and make it real pretty. And as I'm typing, I want you to make sure that you watch how the cursor moves. The cursor follows me as I type. You type with a word processing program just like you do as if you were using a typewriter. It's that easy. Now, if I want to drop down to the next line, I press the Enter key. Blank lines, I press the Enter key again. And you just keep typing away as if you were using a typewriter. If you make a mistake, all you have to do is press the backspace key. The backspace erases one place to the left. And I can finish typing, and I need to drop down, so I'm going to press the Enter key. I type in the address, and I want you to, oops, made another mistake, press the backspace key. And I want you to look how the 0 in the address is different from the letter O. That's always one way that you can tell which way is that the 0 normally has a line through it, or it has a circle in the middle. You just keep typing away. I'm not that fast at typing. I should be, but I'm really not. And then you just keep going. Anytime you make a mistake, you just press the backspace key. You don't even need any whiteout. Now I want you to check out the first paragraph of my letter. Now it's indented. Now there's an easy and a hard way to do this, and we didn't buy the computer to make our lives harder. But first I'm going to show you the hard way to indent a paragraph, and that's pressing the space bar 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, that was the hard way. So I'm going to show you the easy way by going back, pressing the backspace key to go there to the margin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now to indent a paragraph the easy way, you just press the tab key. There you go, you're right there. Every time you press the tab key, it moves you 5 more spaces. So you finish typing the letter just as if you were using a typewriter. I mean, it is that easy. But I'll tell you what, excuse me for just a moment, because I'm going to finish the letter. When we get back, I'm going to do some really neat things. Now I'm finished typing the letter, and because I'm done, I'm ready to save the letter. Save is an important part of any work you do on your computer. If you don't save your work, it's not going to be there the next time. Saving means putting the document or file into a permanent place inside the computer. So next time you can use it, you can change it without having to retype the whole file or document. If I turn off my computer right now, it's not going to be there next time I turn on my computer because I haven't saved it. So let's save our document or our letter by pressing the F10 key. If you look on your template, it even says Save above the F10. When I press F10, it asks me to name the file or to name the document. That you learned in Tape 1, you need to name your files with a computer. I'm going to call it Thank You because that's what it is. And I'll abbreviate it because you know we only get so many letters in a file name. When I press Enter, this tells WordPerfect that I want to save the document. If you look on the lower left-hand corner of your screen, it says C:, that tells me it's on my hard disk, WP51. That's the directory where the letter is, and it's in my WordPerfect directory, and Thank You is the name of the file. And now we're ready to spell check the document because I made some typos. Now again, if we look at our template, we can see that if I press the F2 key and the Control key, that this way I can spell check my document. So I press the Control key and then the F2 key, and it asks me, do you want to check a word, a page, or a document? Those are the most important choices right here on the bottom of the screen. I'm going to pick the page because we know our letter is only one page. And it brings up Davidson. Well, that's somebody's name. And if you look on the bottom of the screen, WordPerfect is asking you some questions. It says, number 1, do you want to skip it only one time in the letter? Well, I can see that it's under the Dear Mr. and Mrs., so I don't want that option. Number 2 says, do you want to skip it every time I see it? Number 3 is add, but I'll show you what that means later. Let's pick number 2 to skip it every time it sees Davidson. Well, thank you has a capital H in it, and we both know that that's wrong. So what I can do is I don't want to skip it by picking 1 or 2. I want to replace it. I want WordPerfect to fix it for me. So I press number 3. Well, learned. How much you learned. It would be learned, not leaned. And so WordPerfect is asking me, do you want leaned, which I would pick by pressing the A on my keyboard, or do you want learned, that I pick by pressing B? Well, I want B. So I want it to be learned, so I press B. Well, you probably notice that I spell computer a little strange. So I can pick option 3, which is to add the word to my dictionary. When I add the word, it means that next time, whatever I type, whenever I use WordPerfect, it won't ask me if that's the way that you spell computer. See, inside WordPerfect, there's like an entire dictionary in there, and I can add my own special words. So I will add computer because I never want WordPerfect to think that I spelled it wrong. Well, you can see that forward is spelled wrong, and by pressing A, WordPerfect will correct it for me. And here we are, we're back adding words to my dictionary. To add the word, look on the bottom of your screen, and I can see that it's number 3. Well, Komando, that's how I spell my last name. I know it's not cement, and I know it's not option D. So I'll add it to my dictionary by pressing number 3. And then you get a little bit of trivia on the screen, like how many words are in that letter, and it asks me to press any key to continue. Well, I kind of like the space bar, and I press that as any key because it's handy. Now WordPerfect is asking me again, do you want to spell check it again? And I say no by pressing the space bar. Now you've probably wondered where the top of the letter is. Well, on a computer screen you only get 24 lines, but on a page you can have up to 55 lines. So there's 2 ways I can see the top of the page. I can move it with the cursor keys. By moving the cursor up there, I can see the top of the page. Or there's one special key that gets me there, and that's the page up key. By pressing the page up key 1 time, I'm up at the top of the letter. Now we should probably save our letter again because we spell checked it and there were a number of changes. Now if you take a look, the name of the file is still in the lower left-hand corner. When I press save, WordPerfect remembered that that's what I called it last time. So I can keep the name by pressing the enter key. It asked me if I want to replace the letter on the screen with the first time I saved it, and I'll pick Y for yes. And there I am. I saved my letter again. Now you won't see a name down there until you save the letter. Now we're ready to make the letter look really great. We're going to change some things in the letter. And when you change things on the screen, it'll appear when you print it out on paper. First, we're going to center a word, but you can center a sentence or even a paragraph. Let's say you wanted to make your own letterhead. Well, we have our cursor here at the very top of the screen, and up at the top, though, I need to put a couple of blank lines. But you know how to do this. I press the Enter key. I'll press the Enter key maybe 5 times to give me enough space at the top of the page if I wanted to put maybe my logo or something. So I move the cursor arrow key to move the cursor up to the very top of the page. Just press it a couple of times, and I'm right there. And now we're going to center some text at the very top of the page. And you remember how we used to do that in the old days? We'd count the spaces and then figure it out with a ruler, and maybe we got it right. Well, we're going to let the computer do the work for us. If we look at our template, we can see that right above the F6 key, it says Center in green. This tells me that I need to press the Shift key and the F6 key in order to center text. I press the Shift key and the F6 key, and the cursor moves right in the center of the page automatically. And here I can type whatever I want. I'll type Computer Tutor. And as I type, the computer is figuring out automatically where the spacing should be so that Computer Tutor is right in the center. You don't have to do any more work than that. And now we're going to underline some text, and you see this a lot in business letters. we'll put a couple of lines right between the address and the salutation. So I'll move the cursor there by pressing the down arrow key till it gets right to the spot where I want to be. Well, I need to enter some lines in here, some blank lines, and I do that by pressing the enter key. So I'll put in maybe 3 lines here. Need to move the cursor up, so I'm going to press the up arrow on the cursor keys, and it puts me right where I need to be. Now to underline text, I want you to take a look at that template again. See if you can find it on F8. It says underline right above F8. So I need to underline something, so I'll press the F8 key. If you take a look in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, you can see that the position right after it, the number, has changed a bit. This tells me that the underline is on. If I turn the underline off, it's back to normal. But we want to underline, so I'll press the F8 key. I'll say regarding your letter. We see this a lot in business letters. Now on the screen, it doesn't look like it's underlined, but this is WordPerfect's way of telling us that it is underlined by highlighting it. When it gets out on paper, that you'll see later when we print the letter, it will be underlined. Now bolding something is another thing that is done a lot in letters. It makes things really stand out, the words. So let's bold Computer Tutor right down here in the body of the letter. And I move the cursor right where I want it to be with the cursor arrow keys. We'll type Computer Tutor, but first we have to turn on the bold. Look at the F6 key right above it on the template. It says bold, so that means you know that by pressing the F6 key, whatever I type will be bold. Now take a look in the lower right-hand corner and you can see the position number. The number after the POS is now brighter, telling me that bold is on. To turn bold off, I press F6 and the number goes back to normal. But we want bold on, so I'll press the F6 key, and now we're ready to type Computer Tutor in bold. I'll type Computer Tutor, and you can see that the letters are brighter than the others on the screen, telling me that it's bold. Now to turn off the bold, how do we do it? We press the F6 key. Now we have 2 Computer Tutors there, and we need to get rid of one of them or to erase it. To delete it or to erase, I use the delete key. This erases one character to the left every time I press it. Remember, backspace erases to the left, delete erases to the right. And so now we're ready to save our letter with all these changes. To save a letter, I can look on my template, and right above the F10, it says Save. I'll press F10. I can save it with the current name that is on the bottom of the screen by pressing Enter. It asks me if I want to replace it. Sure I do. I just made some great changes. I'll say Y for yes. And so now we're ready to print our letter because we want to send it out. It's not much good in the computer unless we can get it out of the computer, and we do that with a printer. To print, if you look on your template, it says print there in green. Because it's in green, I use the Shift key. So to print, I hit Shift, F7, and I see a whole print menu. The most important things on the menu are the numbers 1 and 2. Do you want to print the whole document or just the page? Well, we just have a page, so I'll press number 2 to print the page, and as you'll see, in just a couple of seconds, this letter on my screen will be coming out of my printer with all the underlining, centering, and everything else that we did, the formatting, and it will look so much better than any handwritten letter. And here we are with the letter, and you can see how great it looks. Computer Tutor, we centered that without even counting spaces. Regarding your letter's underline, and let's just compare it to the original letter. The original letter that's handwritten. I mean, which letter would you rather send? Just take a look. Or better question could be, which letter would you rather receive? Did you ever receive any of those personalized letters in the mail? Like the ones from Ed McMahon. It seems like it's written just for you. Well, what the companies have that send those letters out are actually one letter that's generic and a list of names, tens, thousands, millions of names, and they merge or they combine the two together so that they appear to be personalized. They don't type each one separately. They let the computer do the work. They let the computer merge the two together like ramps onto a freeway. Right now, I'm going to show you how you can do your own mail merge using WordPerfect 5.1. On the screen, I have the letter that we typed already. Now, the items that you need to personalize in a letter are called fields. We're going to personalize the letter in the address and also in the salutation. The first place where you personalize something, you need to tell WordPerfect that it's a field. And we do this by pressing the Shift key and the F9 key to put in the field. By pressing number 1, I tell WordPerfect that this is a field. I enter the field number 1, press enter, and it appears on the screen. Now we need to delete the characters or erase the characters that now are showing on the screen. And we do that by deleting. Delete erases one character to the left every time you press it. Now we need to tell WordPerfect that we have a second field, or the address. We move our cursor to the beginning of the line, we press the Shift key, the F9 key, number 1 again for field, enter the field number 2, press enter, and now field 2 now appears on the screen. We need to delete the characters there just like we did before by pressing the delete key. Now we go down one line and we're going to have the city, state, and zip code. That's a separate field. Shift, F9, 1 for field, and now the field number, which is number 3. Press enter, field 3 appears on the screen. Press delete, we're going to erase all those characters there. Now the fourth field that we want to personalize is the dear salutation in the salutation part. We want to say dear first name. We really want to personalize this letter. So now we need to put in a field there, so we press the Shift key, the F9, number 1 again for field. It's our fourth field, number 4, press enter, and now field number 4 appears on the screen. Press the delete key just as we did before, and we're all ready to now save the letter because next we have to put in our names and addresses. We save a letter, you remember how, by pressing the F10 key. We're going to call this one thanks to separate it from the other letter called thank you. I save the letter by typing in a file name, press enter, and now you see the file name in the lower left-hand corner. I need to clear the screen to put in my names and addresses, and I do this by pressing F7. We've already saved the document, so I can say no, and I don't want to exit WordPerfect. And now it's time to enter in all the names and addresses that we're going to personalize the letter with. My first person is Mr. Frank Ford, so I type in his name, and now we are at the end of this field, so I need to tell WordPerfect this. If I look at my template right above F9, it says End Field. I press F9 and I'm automatically on the second field, and you can check at the bottom of the screen. Here I type in Frank's address, which is 1234 Central Avenue. We're at the end of the field, so you probably know what we have to do here. We press the F9 key, and now we're ready to type in Frank's city, which is Los Angeles, California, and then his zip code. We're at the end of the field. We press F9 again. Now this is the dear part, the fourth field. So this is where I type in the first name of the person that will be receiving the letter. F9 again, and we have to do something special here. We need to tell WordPerfect that this is all the information needed for one letter. And I do this by pressing Shift F9, number 2. We need to end the record. Anybody that will be receiving the letter is called a record. And now I'm ready for my second person, who is Miss Carol Smith. Do it just as we did before, F9 for end field, Carol's address, which is P.O. Box 321. End the field, we need her city, which is Plainfield, New Jersey. We put in the zip code, and I bet you know what we do, we end the field. And now we have Frank's first name. We need Carol's first name too, because we're going to really personalize these letters. And now we need to end the record. Shift F9, option number 2 for ending the record. Now I could go on and enter in hundreds or thousands or millions of names, how many my computer can really hold. But I'm going to save it now because I'm going to show you how you can combine the two together. So to save the names, we press F10. F10 to save. I'll call this names. Press enter, and now we're ready to merge the two files together. We need to clear the screen, F7, and I don't want to save the document. I already did that. And I don't want to exit WordPerfect, so I say N for no. And now we need to merge the two. If you look at the F9 key on your keyboard, on the template in red, it tells me that merge needs to be pressed with the Control key and the F9 key. So I press the Control key and the F9 key. Look on the bottom of your screen, option number 1 says merge. See, the computer helps you. Press number 1 and I'm asked for the primary file. Well, the primary file is the letter, and soon we'll be asked for the secondary file, which is the names and addresses that I'm going to be personalizing the letter with. Our primary file name, which was the letter, I called thanks. Type in the file name, press enter. Now the secondary file name are the names and addresses of the people that will be receiving the letter. And here I type in that file name, which I called names. Press enter, and the computer automatically combines the two together. Look on the bottom of your screen, page 2. This means that this is the second letter in the document. This is Carol's letter. Press page up, and I see Frank's letter, who was the first person in my names file. It's that easy to do a mail merge. You don't have to type every letter separately. The computer does all the work for you. You can print them out, you can save it, and that's all there is to doing a mail merge. When I save a letter or document or file on my computer, I need to open or retrieve the file to look at it or to use it again. Just like on my office filing cabinet, I need to open the drawer, pull the file folder out, and then open the file to see what's inside. In WordPerfect, we do this with the Shift and the F10 key, as you can see on your template. Press Shift F10, and you see in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, it says Document to be retrieved. Here I type in the document name that is called Thanks. Type in the name, press Enter, and the document appears on the screen. Now let's say you didn't know the name of the file to be retrieved. I'm going to clear the screen first by pressing F7. I don't want to save the document, it's already been saved, and I don't want to exit WordPerfect. But I'm going to show you a special key, the F5 key. This will show me every file in this directory on my computer. Press Enter, and these are all the files there. I can move the cursor, that's now the highlight, by using the cursor arrow keys. I'm going to find the file that I think is called names. And there it is. It's right there. Now to retrieve the file, look on the bottom of the screen. By pressing number 1, I can retrieve the file and not even know the name. Now there's something else in WordPerfect, and that's called help. By pressing F3, here I can have help on any topic, any feature in WordPerfect. Let's say it was save. You type in the first letter of the command or the letter S. And here on my screen are all the features of WordPerfect that start with the letter S and the keystrokes right there on the screen. If you look in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, it says press Enter to exit help. So when you're all done looking for help, just press Enter and you're right back where you started. Press F7. It asks me to save the document. I'm going to say no. Exit WordPerfect. I'm going to say yes. And we're right back where we started. Only it's a little different. Now you know how to use WordPerfect 5.1, do a mail merge, print a document, check your spelling. It was great, and it was so easy. Now you're going to learn WordPerfect 5.2 for Windows. 5.2 is the version number or the model number of the software. Because it works in Windows, you need to use Windows and be in Windows in order to use WordPerfect 5.2 for Windows. Now may be a good time to review the Windows training on Tape 1. We're going to be using the mouse a lot, and also a lot of the WordPerfect 5.2 commands are just like the ones in Windows. What we're going to do is we're going to take this handwritten letter that many of you may still be sending. And we're going to take this, we're going to put it in the computer using WordPerfect and make it look 100% better. So let's get started. Now from the Program Manager in Windows, or the main window in Windows, we find the WordPerfect window. And in here there's 4 pictures. The one that starts the program is the one with the big WP in the 5.2 underneath. It says W underneath. I point and double click on it to start the program. We get the hourglass, and that means that the computer's starting to get WordPerfect ready so I can use it. On the screen right now, the white part is like a blank piece of paper, just like the one that you used to put in the typewriter. The I bar, or what looks like a capital I, is really the mouse pointer in disguise. When I move it up to the menu bar, or this, what's called the button bar, it turns into an arrow that I can use to point and click, because that's what Windows does. On the button bar are all the most commonly used commands. Here we can work with other features in the program, and this is a ruler, just like you would see on a typewriter. The cursor is the blinking line, and this marks where whatever I type will appear on the screen. Now we're going to take that letter and put it inside WordPerfect, and you'll see how great it will look. We use the computer keyboard just like a regular typewriter, and I want you to watch as the cursor moves as I type. And we will be using the mouse to move the cursor and also work with WordPerfect features. So I'm going to start typing just as if it were a typewriter. You just type away, and it's so easy. The keyboard is not difficult to use. And now we need to go down to the next line, and because we're using word processing, we need to press the Enter key to go down and also to have blank lines. Now I'm going to type in the address of the person who is going to be receiving my letter. And if I ever make a mistake, all I have to do is press the backspace key, and it will erase 1 character to the left. Finish typing the name, press Enter, and I'm ready to type in the address, which is 120 Oxford Street. And I want you to see how the 0 looks like an oval, but the letter O is more round. Type in the city, the state, just like if it were a regular letter. Press Enter, we're going to drop down a couple of lines, and we're ready to type in the salutation, or Dear Mr. and Mrs. Davidson. And I made a mistake, so I can backspace again to correct my errors without ever using whiteout again. Press Enter, Enter, and I want you to look at my letter, because the first line is almost always indented on a paragraph in a letter. I'm going to show you the old-fashioned way. The old-fashioned way on a typewriter, we used to press the space bar, as many spaces as we wanted to get over there. I'm going to show you the new way, but first we have to backspace to the margin. The Tab key is on most computer keyboards. As a matter of fact, it's on all computer keyboards. And when you press that, it'll move you 5 spaces automatically. You don't even have to press the space bar again. So I'm going to type the letter, and afterwards we're going to spell check it, and we're going to grammar check it, and we're going to do all kinds of things. But I want you to excuse me for a moment, because I'm going to finish typing the letter. Now that I'm all done typing that letter, I have some time invested in the letter, so it's time to save the file. If I turn off the computer right now, the letter wouldn't be there next time I turn on the computer because I haven't saved it. When you save something, you put it inside the computer's filing cabinet, just like in a regular office filing cabinet, where you need to open the drawer, put in a file folder, fill it up with information so you can look at the information again. Now in WordPerfect, there's a special button just to save. And as a matter of fact, it has a file folder and a letter going into the folder that says Save underneath. When I point and click on Save, WordPerfect asks me for a file name. I'm going to call this letter Thank You because it's a thank you letter. When I point and click on Save, WordPerfect saves the letter and puts it inside the computer so I can use it again. If you look up at the top of the WordPerfect window, you can see where the letter has been put on my computer and the name of the file, and it says unmodified because I haven't changed it since last time I saved it. Now, the first thing I like to do whenever I save something is to check the spelling. You can see there's a special button in WordPerfect too, just to do this. When I point and click on Speller, WordPerfect tells me it's ready to check the spelling in my letter. When I point and click on Start, WordPerfect goes out and finds what it thinks this time, what is a first-time spelling error. It finds the name Davidson. Well, you see, in WordPerfect, there's a whole dictionary, and Davidson is somebody's name, so it's not going to be in a regular dictionary. And I have a few options. I can skip it once, skip it always, or I can add it to my dictionary. Well, if I pick Skip Always, anytime WordPerfect finds Davidson, it's just going to skip it, and that's the option that I want. So I point and click there, WordPerfect goes out, and it found a capital H in thank you that shouldn't be there. I can continue or replace it or disable the checking. Well, I like WordPerfect to find these type of errors in my documents. So I'm not going to check that box. I'm going to point and click on Replace to have WordPerfect fix it for me. The next error it finds is Computer. Well, computer should be spelled with a C, but you probably notice that I always spell it with a K. So I can add it to my dictionary, which is the best option here, because anytime I use computer with a K, WordPerfect won't tell me that it's spelled wrong. Anytime I use WordPerfect from now on. So I'm going to point and click on Add, because I want to add that word to my dictionary. Now, forward is spelled wrong in my letter, but WordPerfect suggests that it should be spelled this way. So I'm going to point and click on Replace, and WordPerfect fixes it for me. Now, this is my first name, and that's not in the dictionary either, but I don't want WordPerfect to bother me anymore, whether I use the software program this time or any other time in the future. So I'm going to point and click on Add. I'm going to add my first name to the dictionary. Now, Komando, that's how I spell my last name, not C-O-M-M-A-N-D-O. So I'm going to add that word to my dictionary too. When it's all done, WordPerfect says, hey, you want to close the speller? Are you done? And I'm going to point and click on Yes, because I want to show you something else. Now, you're probably wondering where the top of our letter is. Well, on a computer screen, you only see 24 lines, but you get 55 lines on the page. Over here on the right-hand side of the screen are those elevator bars that we saw on tape 1 during Windows training. By pointing and clicking on the up arrow, the elevator moves up and shows me the top of my document. And now it's time to check the grammar. It's like there's an English teacher inside WordPerfect to help you out. When I point and click on Tools, I see a whole menu of different things I can do in WordPerfect. But here's the one I want now. It's called Grammatic. When I point and click there, WordPerfect starts Grammatic, and it starts checking the grammar in my letter. It finds computer spelled wrong because Grammatic will also check our spelling. Well, I know that this isn't a problem, so I can point and click on Learn Word that will add it to the Grammar Checker Dictionary too. It goes out and it tells me cannot. Boy, you know, I always do that. Cannot should not be written as one word. Well, Grammatic suggests it should be put together like it should be. So I want to replace it the way it should be and go to the next problem. So I'm going to point and click on Replace Next. It goes out, and again, my last name. I'm going to add that word to this dictionary. I'm going to ask Grammatic to learn the word by point and clicking there. When it's all done, you have to save your changes, just like we saved the letter before. Point and click on Save. Grammatic comes back to our main menu. Point and click on Exit, and I'm right back in WordPerfect. Only this time, if you look at cannot, it's spelled the way it should be, not the way that we spelt it beforehand. One of the best parts about word processing is that anything you write, you can make it look super in just a matter of seconds because the computer makes it so easy. It does a lot of the work for you. Like, do you remember when you needed to center something on a report? You used to count all the spaces and then figure it all out. Watch this, the computer will do it for you automatically. We're going to put some lines in and we're going to center something in the beginning of the page. First, we have to move the cursor. Now, we could use the arrow keys, but I'm going to show you a shortcut. First, we move the mouse pointer to where we want the cursor, point and click the left mouse button, and this drops the cursor right where the mouse was. So we need to put in some blank lines, and I do that by pressing the Enter key, which moves the letter down one line every time I press the Enter key. Now I'm going to put the cursor back at the top of the page by moving the mouse pointer, pressing and releasing, or clicking the left mouse button one time. Now I'm going to type in what I want to center. I'm going to type Computer Tutor. Maybe I need to make my own letterhead for a while. And so now we move the cursor again to the beginning of the words or what we want to center. And I do that by moving the mouse pointer and clicking the left mouse button. Now we're going to highlight Computer Tutor by dragging the mouse over the words. And I do that by moving my mouse pointer, holding down the left mouse button, and dragging the mouse over. And this tells WordPerfect I want to do something special with the words that are highlighted. When something's highlighted, it's a different color. Now over here on the button bar, there's a special button just to center. It has an L on it right now, and that stands for left justification in a letter, or all the lines are go against the left margin, as you can even see in the picture. Point and click there, and it opens up a whole menu. I'm going to drag the mouse down to center, because that's what I want to do. Release the left mouse button, and it goes right in the center of the page automatically. Now I'm going to make Computer Tutor really stand out in this letter. I'm going to make the size bigger with the letters. And I'm sure you can figure out by now which button I'm going to push. It's the one with size on it. I point and click there, and a whole bunch of options show up. Now the bigger the number, the bigger the letters. So I'm going to pick 24 because that's a good size for this letter. Hold down the left mouse button, release it, and bingo, Computer Tutor, it's there. It's that big, and it's that easy. So now we're going to bold some text, which will make the letters stand out. I'm going to bold Computer Tutor in my letter. So I move my mouse pointer down there. We're going to highlight Computer Tutor here, and I drop the cursor by pushing and releasing or clicking the left mouse button. Now we need to highlight Computer Tutor, so you know how to do that. We have the mouse pointer there. We push the left mouse button and drag it across the words that we're going to bold. Now up on the top of the menu, there's something that's called a font. And if you don't know what a font is, it's just a typeface. It's a Courier or it's a Times Roman. It's just a typeface of what the characters look like. Point and click there, and it opens up a whole menu of options, but we're going to use this one called Font. And you see the bold option? I'm going to drag the mouse all the way there, and once I'm there, I'm going to release the left mouse button that will make Computer Tutor really stand out. Now there's a lot of things you can use bold for. Maybe the title of a report, your company name in letters, or maybe a movie, anything that you want to stand out in a letter. Let me show you how to underline right now. I want to underline happy computing in the last line of my letter. I drop the mouse pointer there, and I drop the cursor there by pushing and releasing the left mouse button. And there's the cursor. We're going to highlight happy computing because that's what I want to underline. So I drag the mouse over it to highlight it, and when I reach the end, I release on the left mouse button. Point and click on Font, and I see I can underline or double underline. I'm just going to pick underline for right now. Point and click there, and now happy computing, as you see, is underlined. It's that easy to make anything you write look really great. And now that we made all these changes, we're going to save the letter. And we save a letter by pointing and clicking on Save. And again, it's like a letter going into a file folder. Point and click there, and the letter has been saved. And you can tell by looking at the top in the title bar. But let's say you wanted to add more letters or more words in the middle of your letter. I just drop and point the mouse pointer there, point and click, and I can add anything I want in the middle of the letter. Maybe I can type a sentence. I can add a sentence or what have you. If you make a mistake, you can always press the backspace key. I'll just type in there are no comparisons to computers. Add a period and some spaces, and that's all there is. Now I just made a change, so you guessed it. I'm going to save the letter again, which just takes a point and a click of the mouse, and now I'm going to print it. You can probably see the print button on your screen. I probably don't even need to tell you that. As a matter of fact, it has a picture of a printer and a piece of paper. Point and click on print, and you can print anything that you do with WordPerfect as long as you have a printer connected to your computer. The most important button is down here, where it actually says print there. Point and click on print, and in just a matter of seconds, your work is coming out of the computer. And that's what a printer does. It takes the work from your computer and puts it on paper. And it's that easy to type a letter and print. You never have to use a typewriter again after using word processing. And here comes my letter now. And you can see that it just looks wonderful. Look how great this letter looks. And so I want you to take a look at this letter that I just did in just a matter of minutes, and a handwritten letter that maybe some people are still sending. And you can tell the difference right away. So the question is, which letter would you rather sign your name to? I bet you it's this one that you did with word processing. Have you ever needed to send one letter to a bunch of people? Maybe you're in business and you want to send a letter to all your customers announcing a new sale or maybe a new marketing representative in your company. If you're in business, it's proper etiquette to send a thank you letter to everybody that went to a meeting or seminar. And in your personal life, a thank you letter to everybody that went to a party is always a good idea. Well, there's a special feature in WordPerfect 5.2 for Windows. It's called a mail merge, and it makes sending one letter personalized to a bunch of people a piece of cake. What you have is one letter that's generic, and then you have a list of names and addresses, and with a merge, you combine the two so each letter is personalized without retyping every letter separately. I'm going to show you how to do it right now with WordPerfect 5.2. Now in WordPerfect 5.2, you have a button bar. When you buy the program and when you start the program, it's there automatically. It's called the default button bar. Now you can change the button bar by first pressing the right mouse button. When you do that, a whole menu opens up with all different kinds of button bars. You can change it, and I'm going to change it to the merge button bar just by pointing and clicking on the merge button bar. And when I do that, I get a whole new set of buttons. And you can change it back. All you have to do is point on the button bar, press the right mouse button, point and click again on the WP on the bottom. That's the default button bar. And you're right back where you started with all the buttons you've already known. But we're going to use the merge button bar, so I'm going to open it up again by pointing and clicking the right mouse button. Point and click on the merge button bar, and we get all the buttons that we need to do a mail merge. They're right there in front of us. So the place to start is with the items that we need to personalize. Any item that we need to personalize in a letter is called a field. They could have called it an item, but it's called a field. So here we are at the cursor that marks the first field that we're going to be personalizing in our letter. Point and click on field, and it asks me to enter a field name or number. I'm just going to use numbers because it kind of makes it easier. The number 1 for the first field in our letter. Point and click on OK, and you see that field 1 appears on the screen. Press the delete key to erase the characters to the right, because we don't want those characters in every letter. The second field will be the address, so I move the cursor there by moving the mouse pointer and pushing and releasing the left mouse button one time or clicking. We add a field by pointing and clicking on field, We add a name or number, but I'm going to stick with numbers. The number 2 for the second field. Point and click on OK, and field 2 appears right on the screen. Press the delete key and it erases all the characters. Now you're probably going to guess what we're going to do now. We're going to put in the third field. First, we move the cursor there with the mouse by clicking the left mouse button after the mouse pointer's there. Point and click on field. We have the number 3 because it's our third field. Point and click on OK, and we have field 3 right on the screen. Delete, delete, delete all the characters you don't want. Now the next field we need to personalize. It's in the salutation. We need to say dear first name. We don't want dear Mr. or Mrs. Davidson on all our letters. So we move the mouse pointer up to field. It's our fourth field, number 4. Point and click on OK, and I have dear field 4, but we're going to personalize that. Erase all the characters you don't need by pressing the delete key. Now we need to save this letter with all the merge codes inside. So if I point and click on File, you know from watching the Windows tape that there's an option to save. So I point and click on Save, and it saves the letter with all my merge codes inside. You know, I'd like to give you a little tip about saving. Number 1, you can really never do it often enough. And number 2, when you're naming those files, make sure they mean something. Make sure they're descriptive so you can tell what's inside just by looking at them. Now it's time to put those names that we're going to be merging with this letter. And to do that, we point to File, point to New, because we need to set up a new page in our using WordPerfect. And here we're going to be putting the names and addresses. The name of the first person I want to send my letter to is Mr. Frank Ford. Remember, this is field 1 in our letter, so we need to end the field by pointing and clicking on End Field. This tells WordPerfect that that's all the information that's needed for field 1. So now I put in Frank's address, 1234 Central Avenue, and now we're going to point and click on End Field again. We're at the third field, and you can tell by looking at the bottom of your screen where it says Field 3 that this is the information we're going to be typing now. And here we have Frank's city, which is Los Angeles. Make a mistake, all you have to do is press the backspace key. Los Angeles, California, and now his zip code. We're going to end the field by pointing and clicking, now you know, on End Field. And now we have our fourth field, which you may remember in our letter is the first name of the person getting the letter, or Frank. We're going to end the field here by pointing and clicking on End Field. And now this isn't the end of a record, and a record in WordPerfect is all the information that it needs to personalize one letter, all the information that is needed in each field. I'm going to point and click on End Record, and I'm ready to start putting the information in for the second person that will be getting the letter. The second person on my list is Miss Carol Smith. Now, just like we did before, we need to end the field. So we point and click on End Field. Now we have Carol's address, which is P.O. Box 322. We end the field, you probably guessed that though, by pointing and clicking. And now we're in the city that Carol lives in, which is Plainfield, New Jersey, and Carol's zip code. We're going to end the field, but you probably knew that, pointing and clicking. And now we need to put, you got it, the first name, Carol. Point and click on End Field, and we need to end the record by pointing and clicking on End Record. Now I could enter in as many names as I wanted, but I think you got the gist of it. You type in the information as relates to the fields, End Field, end the record, and there you go. These are the names that we're going to be putting in our letter. So now I need to save this. So I point and click on File, point and click on Save, and again it asks me for a file name. I'm going to call this Names because these are names that are going to go in my thank you letter. So I point and click on Save, and you can see I have names at the top of the screen. Now I'm going to close this file by clicking on File and dragging it down to Close. And here's my letter. And so now I'm ready to do the mail merge. But first, I have to close this letter here too. So I click on File, click on Close, and I'm ready to do my mail merge. There's a special button on the button bar, and I bet you know which one it is. It's this one that says Merge. As a matter of fact, it has two pictures that are kind of joined together. In this way, we are combining the contents of one letter with the information in a second document. When I click there, it asks me for the primary file name, which I know is thank you. Now the primary file name is always the letter, so I'll type in thank you. Now the secondary file name is the names, and I go there, I move the cursor by dropping the cursor there with the mouse pointer and then clicking the left mouse button. I type in the secondary file name, which is names. Click on OK, and WordPerfect did the mail merge. It was that easy. And if you look on the bottom of your screen, it says page 2. Watch what's on page 1. And I get there by pressing the page up key, or I can always scroll, but I'm just going to hit the page up key. When I do that, it keeps taking me up all the way to the top of the document. So you can see Frank has the same letter. It's that easy. Letters can be personalized. You can merge as much information as you want. You can print out the letters. You can save them. It's that easy to create personalized letters for anybody that you want to send a letter to. Now, when you save a file or document with WordPerfect, you know it goes into the computer's filing cabinet. So you need to open the filing cabinet in order to use or change that file again. As a matter of fact, if you look at the button bar on WordPerfect 5.2, it even has an open file folder. When I click there, all the files in my WP-Win directory appear, and to pick one, all I have to do is use the mouse, or I could type in the file name. I want to find the file called Thank You, so I click on the down arrow until it appears. Once it's there, I click on the file to highlight the file to say that's the one that I want to get. Click on Open, and the file appears on the screen, just like that. And when you're all done with WordPerfect and when you've saved all your documents and you're ready to quit for the day, all you have to do, and you probably know this from watching the Windows training, is point on File, click on Exit, and there we are. We're back in the safety of Windows. And you just learned WordPerfect 5.2 for Windows. Congratulations. I mean, it is so easy. You can spell check your documents. You'll never send out a letter with bad grammar again. And I just want to say congratulations. You did it. Now you're going to learn the easy and quick way to use Microsoft Word for Windows. You may hear it called WinWord or just Word. It's still the same. It's Microsoft's Word for Windows. It's a word processing program that's good for typing a short note, a long document, a report, or maybe even a best-selling novel. With the program, you can check your grammar, check your spelling, and do other things that you'll see soon. What we're going to do is we're going to take a handwritten letter that maybe you're still sending out, and we're going to put it in Microsoft Word and make it look 100% better. And you'll see this in just a moment. Now, Microsoft Word, you need to be in Windows to use the program. And if it's been a while since you reviewed the Windows section on tape 1, now's a good time to do it because we use the mouse, we use Windows, and if you know Windows, it will make learning Microsoft Word a snap. So let's use Microsoft Word now. Now the icon that starts Microsoft Word looks like a piece of paper and a big W just flew off the page. It says Microsoft Word underneath. To start the program, to use the program, I point to it and I double click. You see the hourglass that tells me the program is getting ready for me to use it. Now the top two lines look like most Windows programs. Here we have a toolbar, and these are shortcuts. Each picture or icon is a different feature of Microsoft Windows. This is a ribbon or a ruler that you may be familiar with on a typewriter. The white space on the page is like a blank piece of paper. It's a little smaller than a piece of paper. On a computer screen, you can only see 24 lines. On a piece of paper, you get up to 55 lines or more on the page. The blinking line is called the cursor. It marks where whatever we type will appear on the page. I want you to watch the cursor as it moves as I type. So let's type that letter. We start at the top with the address, or December 24th, and you type just as if it were a typewriter. When you reach the end of a line, you need to press Enter. To get some blank lines, you press Enter. And now I'm ready to type the person's address who will be receiving the letter. First their name, and if you make a mistake, all you have to do is press the backspace key. Press the backspace key and it erases one character to the left. Press Enter and I'm ready to type in their address, which is 120 Oxford Street. Take a look at the way the 0 is more oval than the letter O. That's an easy way to tell which letter you typed. The city, which is Phoenix, the state, Arizona, and now we're ready for the zip code. Type Enter, and now we need to get a few blank lines so you know what to do. We press Enter. And now we're ready for the salutation. And I type in Dear Mr. and Mrs. Davidson, just as if I were using a typewriter. It's that easy. And now we need to go the next line so you know what to do. We press the Enter key. Press the Enter, and I want you to take a look, though, at the first line in the body of the letter. It's indented a little bit. Well, there's the old-fashioned way, and there's an easy way to do it. But first, I'll show you the old-fashioned way. With a typewriter, we used to press the space bar 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to indent a paragraph. Now I'm going to show you the easy way, but first we have to backspace to the margin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now on our computer keyboard, there's a tab key. When we press the tab key, it indents the paragraph automatically. So I press the tab key, the cursor moves over, and now I'm ready to finish typing my letter. And you have to excuse me for just a moment because I'm going to finish typing this letter. And when we get back, we're going to do some really neat things. And now that I'm all done typing that letter and I have some time invested in it, it's time to save the file. If I were to turn off the computer right now, the letter would be gone the next time I turned on the computer. I need to save the file, so this way I can use it, I can change it again. When you save something, you put it inside the computer's filing cabinet, just like a regular office filing cabinet. When you open the drawer, put in the file folders, put in the information so you can look at it again. Now in Microsoft Word, there's a special icon just to save. Come here, we'll do it right now. It's up here on the top. As a matter of fact, it has a diskette on it. When I point and click on it, Microsoft Word asks me to name the file. I'll call this Thank You because it's a thank you letter. Point and click on OK, and Microsoft Word will ask me if I want more information about that file. It makes it easier when you want to know what's inside a file without actually opening it up. I don't want to enter in anything now, so I'm going to point and click on OK, and the file has been saved. You can tell by looking at the window up above where it says Microsoft Word. Here's the name of the file and the DOC extension. Microsoft Word gives every letter written with it the DOC extension. So this way you know by looking at the file names that you wrote that letter with Microsoft Word. The next thing I like to do with anything I send out or anything I write is to check the spelling. Well, you probably guessed that Microsoft Word has a button for this too, and this one's easy to find. It has a check mark with ABC on it. It's a spell checker. To spell check your document, point and click on the button, and Microsoft Word will go through and find every word spelled wrong. If you take a look at Davidson, that's somebody's name. It's not spelled wrong. Well, inside Microsoft Word, there's an entire dictionary. And you wouldn't find the word Davidson in a regular dictionary because it's somebody's name. So that's why Microsoft Word found it as maybe a word spelled incorrectly. I'm going to choose Ignore All. Ignore means just this time that you picked up the word, it's okay. Ignore all means I don't want you to bother me again. That's the way Davidson spelled, so leave me alone. I point and click on Ignore All, and then Microsoft Word finds the next incorrectly spelled word. Thank you. Well, it has highlighted the correct version, or what the correct word should be, which is thank with a little h. Point and click on Change, and Microsoft Word has changed the word for me. I can tell by looking at the sentence it's how much you learned, not how much you Leonard or how much you leaned, so I need to use the word learned. I point and click on Learned, point and click on Change, and that's how easy it is. Well, next it picks up computer. Well, really, in the dictionary, computer is spelled with a C, but I like to spell it with a K. So there's a special button for this one. It's called the Add button. And what I can do is add certain words to my dictionary, to the Microsoft dictionary, so whenever I'm using the program, Microsoft Word won't bother me. I point and click on Add because I want computer with a K in my dictionary. Forward, I look forward. Well, there's not two A's in forward, but Microsoft Word found what it should be. So I point and click on Change, and Microsoft Word changes it for me. Well, Komando, that's how I spell my last name. I don't spell it like Microsoft Word thinks, like in the movies. So I'm going to add this word to my dictionary too. Point and click on Add, and whenever Microsoft Word finds Komando, it's not going to bother me from here on out. Well, the spell check is complete, so I point and click on OK. Let's say you wanted to add a sentence in the middle of your letter. You know, it used to be you had to retype the whole thing. Well, I'm going to add a sentence in the middle of my letter. I drop the cursor here by moving the mouse pointer, clicking the left mouse button. I'm going to add a sentence. Maybe tell a friend. It's that easy. You don't have to retype anything. Microsoft Word figures it all out for you. And you may have noticed I made an error, but I'm going to show you how to fix that too. We're going to move the cursor to the top of the page, and now we're going to let Microsoft Word fix that error for me because we're going to have it check the grammar in my letter. So I point and click on Tools, and I see that there's a grammar option. Point and click on Grammar, and Microsoft's Word will go through and again check my spelling, but more importantly, my grammar too. I'm going to ignore Davidson, but I'm going to ignore it all the time by pointing and clicking there. And now tell of friends. Well, look what it says. Consider friend instead of friends. The computer's almost like an English teacher inside. By pointing and clicking on Change, it will change friends to friend. Point and click, and you can see how easy it is. These are certain statistics that people sometimes want to know about their documents. Over here, this one's always kind of interesting. What grade level you're writing on, or almost the 7th grade level. Point and click on OK, and we're right back where we started, except we have our spelling checked, our grammar checked, and we added a sentence. So now it's time to save the file once more because we just made a whole bunch of changes. So I point and click on that diskette again to save it, and it has been saved. And you don't need to replace or put in a new file name because Microsoft remembered the name from the last time I did it. It's that easy. One of the best parts about using a word processing program is how great your work looks afterwards. Do you remember when we used to have to center a title of report? We'd count all the spaces and figure it all out, and then maybe we got it right. Well, with Microsoft Word and with word processing programs, all I have to do is click a mouse button. It's that easy. Come on now, and I'm going to show you how. First, we have the cursor at the top of the document. I need to push the letter down by inserting some lines, and I do that, by pressing the Enter key. I'm going to push the letter down a little bit to make room for Computer Tutor in the center. I move the cursor up. I'll do it this time because it's easier with the arrow keys. I type in what I want to center, which are the words Computer Tutor. And once it's all done, once I'm done typing the words, I need to highlight it. And we've done that before. We put the mouse pointer at the beginning of the words that we want to highlight, click the left mouse button to drop the cursor there. And now while holding the left mouse button, I slide across and I drag the mouse all the way across the words. When I'm at the end, I release the left mouse button. It's highlighted now, so Microsoft Word knows that we're going to be doing something different with it. Over here on our toolbar, we see that some words are over to the left, some are center, some are right, and some are fully justified, or what's called fully justified on both sides. Well, which one do you think we want? It's the button that's centered, you know that. So I point and click there, and it's right there. I didn't even have to count any spaces. Well, let's make Computer Tutor really big by pointing and clicking on this button with the number on it. This is the point size of the text that is on the screen. I point and click there, and how about if we pick 22? That should be a good size. So I point and click there, and now Computer Tutor, it really stands out. Let's say you wanted to bold something. We use bolding a lot when we want to show something special in a letter, or we want to draw attention to something. I want to bold Computer Tutor down here in my letter, so I move the cursor down there by pointing and clicking. Hold down the left mouse button and drag across to highlight Computer Tutor or whatever you want to bold. Release the left mouse button, and now it's highlighted, again telling Word that I want to do something different with it. Point and click on the B for bold, and watch this. That's it. That's all it took to make Computer Tutor bold. You can see how it's a little different. Well, I want to underline something in the last sentence of my letter. Now to do that, I can't see it. So I'm going to point and click on the down arrow. Here comes down that elevator, and soon the bottom of my letter will appear. It's right there, and you can see the elevator moving. I'm going to underline Happy Computing. We do it the same way, so you probably could tell me how to do it. I'm going to put the cursor there by pointing and clicking with the mouse. Hold down the left mouse button to highlight it. When I reach the end, you guessed it, I release on the left mouse button. Now see this U right here? That stands for underline. There's even a line underneath the U. I point and click there, and here I'll show you by moving the highlight, and you can see that Happy Computing, it's underlined. So now we just made all these changes, so we better save the file again. So how did we save last time? It was that diskette up there. So I point and click on that, and the file has been saved again. So let's print out our letter. I want to show you how great it really looks. Now I bet you know that there's a button for this somewhere on the toolbar. It's this one with the printer and the piece of paper coming out of it. I mean, it's kind of hard to miss that one. Point and click on the printer, and soon my letter will be coming out of the document, and it's so much easier than using a typewriter. And I'm going to show you, it looks better than almost any typewriter could do any good day of the week. And it just takes us just a second for my letter to come out, and as it does, you'll see how great it looks, and everything that we centered, everything that we bold and underlined, it's all there. And I'm going to show you that handwritten letter again, just to prove to you what a big difference it makes knowing how to just type a letter using Microsoft Word. How long do you think it would take you to send a personalized letter to 20 people, 50 people, 100 people? What if I told you could do it in a few minutes using Mail Merge, a feature in Microsoft Word? With Mail Merge, you could send a personalized letter to all your customers, telling them about a great sale. You could send a letter to all your business associates, thanking them for attending a seminar. And it's all done with Mail Merge. And what it is we take one letter, a generic letter, and we take a list of names and addresses, and we combine the two to personalize each letter. It's almost like ramps on a highway that lead right into the freeway. They combine the two. So come on, I'm going to teach you how to do a mail merge in just a matter of minutes. First, we start off with the generic letter that we're going to be using in the mail merge. We move our mouse pointer to File, we point and click to open the menu, and we move our mouse pointer, we drag it all the way down to Print Merge. When there, I release the left mouse button, and as you can see, here's a picture of what I was explaining. our names and addresses. This is our letter, and together we have all these personalized letters. We need to attach a data file, and a data file is just a technical word for all the names and addresses. I point and click there, and it says, do you have an existing data file that I could type in here, or do you want to create a new file of names and addresses? Which that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to point and click on Create a Data File. And here we have something that's called field names. Well, really all a field name is are those items in a letter that we're going to be personalizing. The first one is the first part of somebody's address, or their name, Mr. and Mrs., or what have you. So I'll call this field Name. When we're done, we point and click on Add, because we're going to add that as a data file. The next field name we need is the person's address. So I'll call this Address. I point and click on Add, and you can see it's also been added to our fields. The third thing we need to create in our data file is the second part of somebody's address, their city, state, and zip code. And I'll call this field Address 2. Point and click on Add, and there we go. Now the fourth thing we need to create a data file for is the person's first name that would appear here in a personalized letter. And I'll call that field First Name. Now you may be wondering why there isn't a space there in between first and name. Well, you can't have them in field names, so that's why. I'll point and click on Add, and we're all done, so I'll point and click on OK. We can save this field as a name, as a file name. So I'll just call this Names. Point and click on OK, and here we are. We're all ready to enter in the people that will be receiving the information, as well as all their addresses and their first name that we're going to use to personalize those letters. I'm going to start off with the person first on my list, who's Mr. Frank Ford. And you just type in the person's address, and now we need to move and type in their address over here. So how are we going to do it? Well, I'm sure you figured out that we could always use the mouse pointer because it's used a lot in Windows. A shortcut is, though, to just press the Tab key, and it brings us right to the next window there. I'll type in his address, which is 1234 Central Avenue, and if you ever make a mistake here, the backspace works too. Tab over to the next part of his address so I can put in the city, the state, made a mistake, their state, and the zip code. And you don't have to worry about fitting it all in the box. See, Microsoft Word does it for you automatically. And now we need to put in the first name, or Frank. Now we need to add another name to our data file. So I do that by pressing the Tab key. It brings me down to a new line, and I'll type in Miss Carol Smith, because she's the second person who will be receiving our letter. Carol's address is P.O. Box, made a mistake, P.O. Box, it's easy to make mistakes when you're typing, 321, and now we need to tab over again and put in Carol's address, which is Plainfield, New Jersey. We put in Carol's zip code, and now we need Carol's first name. And so we type in Carol. And now we're all done, so we need to save this. Now I could keep going and entering, well, as many names and addresses as my computer can fit, but I want to show you how it really works. So let's save this, and you know how we save. We point and click on the disk, and it's all been saved. Now here Word is asking me if I want to give the file name some more information that I can look at later, but I'm not going to do that, so I can just point and click on OK. Now see this big M there? That stands for merge. So after you put in all your names and addresses, just click that button. Just point to it and click. And then we have a whole new button bar here just to do the mail merge. So what we have to do is insert a merge field. Now remember those fields, those are the parts of the letter that will be personalized. So to insert a field, I point and click there. It asks me which one. Well, I want to put the name there, so I point and click. So now we need to delete Mr. and Mrs. Davidson, because we don't want that on our personalized letters. That wouldn't look good. So I'm going to erase it. So now we need to move the cursor down. So I'm just going to use the arrow keys because it's easier right now. So this merged field, you probably remember, was just called address. So we need to put that there, and I do that by pointing and clicking to insert merged field. Here it is, address. I'll point and click on that, point and click on OK, and there's my merged field. See, Microsoft Word is going to take the names by the fields and personalize the letters. So now we need to put in the second part of the address. So I point and click on Insert Merged Field, this address too, because that's the city, state, and zip code. Point and click on OK, and there it is on the screen. And I'm pressing the delete key to erase the characters to the right. Well, the next part we need to personalize is their first name, because we want them to think that we really spent a lot of time on the letters. So I'll point and click on Insert Merged Field, their first name, point and click on OK, and you see, Dear First Name. Erase the characters to the right and by pressing the delete key, and we're almost ready. But first, let's make sure that the merge is going to work. Microsoft Word will check it for me. See this check mark? Point and click on that, and Microsoft Word will say, hey, you have all the information you need and nothing's wrong, so the mail merge will work. If you look at these two buttons, something's different. The two letters are being combined like our letter and our names list, but there's something different on the other side. This stands for a file, and this stands for a printer. I can put all the personalized letters into one big file, or I can just print them out on my printer. I'm going to put them in a file right now, so I'm going to point and click on the one that has the file. And there you go. There's our first letter. So if you want to see Carol's letter, it looks the same, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. I'm going to press the page down key, and there it is, to Miss Carol Smith. It's that easy. And I can also move up the cursor just to show you that Computer Tutor's on the top of every letter too. It's that easy to create letters that are personalized. It's called a mail merge, and now you can do it too. Now there's just a few more things you need to know about Microsoft Word. Let's say you're working on a letter and you want to start a new letter. You want a blank screen to start with. Well, here I'll show you how to do it. And you probably guessed that there's a button for this too. It's right up here. It looks like a blank piece of paper. I have a letter on my screen now, but when I point and click to the blank piece of paper, I get a whole fresh screen and I can type a new letter. And Microsoft Word tells me by putting the number 2 after the document. But let's say you want to get a file that's in your computer. It's in the filing cabinet. Well, if you look up here, there's an open file folder. And I bet you know that by pressing that, by clicking with the left mouse button, I have all the files in my computer I can use. I can type the name here, or I can just select it by moving the mouse pointer and clicking the left mouse button. I'll highlight Thank You Letter because that's the letter we typed earlier. I'll point and click on OK to get the letter, and there it is on my screen. So when you're all done with Microsoft Word and you've saved all your files and you're ready to quit, well, you probably know the way to do it because I showed you in Windows. You point and click on File, you point and click on Exit, and you're right back to Windows because that's the way that most Windows programs work. And so now you've just learned Microsoft Word. Well, congratulations, and why would you ever use a typewriter now that you can use a word processing software program? Why would you ever send a handwritten letter again? It's so much easier with the computer, and your work, it looks so much better.